Chapter 41. The 10th sacrifice. The underground chamber beneath Magnolia's End plantation pulsed with dark energy, its stone walls carved with voodoo veves and crescent moons, bathed in the eerie glow of torches. The full moon's light streamed through a skylight, illuminating a black-draped altar strewn with ritual artifacts, blood-stained knives, papier-mâché masks, and silver crescent medallions. Julien Dubois stood bound at the altar's center, ropes cutting into his wrists, his scar burning under the weight of his rage. Madame Zora's talisman hung heavy around his neck, a faint shield against the order of the crescent moon's bloodlust. 9 victims, Lavigne, Thibodeau, Leclerc, Clara, Dupont, Martineau, Rousseau, Blanchard, Renault, lay dead, their masked faces a grim prelude to the final ritual. Tommy's betrayal had delivered Julien into Devereaux's hands, and the crescent moon demanded its due. Vincent Devereaux stood before the altar, his silver crescent mask glinting, his black suit pristine, his blue eyes cold with fanatic zeal. A dozen cloaked figures, their own masks leering, formed a circle, their Creole chant a low, menacing hum. Devereaux's voice cut through, velvet over steel. Detective Dubois, you've chased the moon to its zenith, a fitting end. The 10th sacrifice, the final crescent, must be a life of power, a warrior unyielding. Your blood will seal our pact, granting the Order immortality, dominion over this city forever. Julien's jaw clenched, his scar a fiery line. Amelie's journal, hidden in his coat, named Devereaux as the Order's leader, her 1916 murder the ritual's spark. You're delusional, Devereaux, he spat, straining against the ropes. 9 murders, my sister's blood, you're no god, just a butcher. This ends with you in a cell or a grave. Devereaux's laugh was chilling, his mask tilting as he leaned closer. Your sister was a spark, a necessary offering to awaken the Loa's power. You, Dubois, are the culmination, your defiance the perfect fuel. The moon's will is eternal, and no talisman can stop it. He lifted a ceremonial knife, its blade etched with a crescent, the chant swelling as the moonlight intensified. Julien's mind raced, Zora's words, break the altar, scatter the offerings, a desperate plan. The talisman warmed against his chest, a spark of hope, but the ropes held firm, Devereaux's followers closing in. He thought of Celeste, her escape into the fog, her vow to return. She was his only chance, her ledger and camera the world's window to this madness. Above ground, Celeste Moreau crouched in the plantation's underbrush, her auburn hair tangled, her amulet pulsing with resolve. The fog cloaked her, the distant Mardi Gras parade a faint hum. Her camera, ledger, and notebook were safe, proof of the Order's crimes, but Julien's capture was a wound she couldn't ignore. Margot's key, still in her pocket, was useless without a way back into the chamber. She scanned the ruins, spotting a secondary tunnel entrance near a collapsed stable, its grate ajar from the Order's passage. I'm coming, Julien, she whispered, her voice fierce, the bruise from her abduction a badge of defiance. She slipped into the tunnel, her flashlight dim, the air thick with the scent of blood and earth. The chant echoed below, Devereaux's voice a venomous thread. Celeste's heart pounded, she had to reach the altar, disrupt the ritual, free Julien before the knife fell. In the chamber, Devereaux raised the blade, the chant peaking, the moonlight a blinding crown. Julien's scar burned, Amelie's memory a fire against despair. You'll fall, Devereaux, he growled, his eyes locked on the knife. The moon's not yours. As the blade descended, a distant clatter echoed, Celeste unseen, her flashlight's beam a fleeting hope in the tunnel's mouth. The crescent moon's shadow loomed, the final sacrifice a heartbeat away, and Julien braced for the ritual's end, or his own. Chapter 43. The killer unmasked. The fog over Magnolia's End plantation swirled like a living shroud, the full crescent moon casting a ghostly light on the ruins, crumbling columns, moss-draped oaks, and the Mississippi's dark murmur. Julien Dubois, Celeste Moreau, and Madame Zora Laveau emerged from the underground ritual chamber, their breaths ragged, the altar's destruction a fleeting victory. Julien's scar burned, Madame Zora's talisman pulsing, Amelie's journal a weight in his coat. Celeste's amulet glinted, her camera and ledger clutched tightly, proof of the Order of the Crescent Moon's crimes. 9 victims lay dead, the 10th sacrifice, Julien, thwarted by Zora's voodoo power. But Vincent Devereaux and his cloaked followers had fled into the plantation's shadows, their ritual unfinished, their killer still at large. They sprinted through the overgrown courtyard, Julien's revolver drawn, Zora's serpent skull staff glowing faintly, Celeste's flashlight cutting through the mist. The chamber's veves and blood-stained masks haunted Julien, Amelie's 1916 murder, a wound reopened by Devereaux's taunts. He's not done, Julien growled, his voice grim. Devereaux's desperate to finish the ritual, and he'll kill to do it. Zora's eyes blazed, her Creole accent a warning. The Loa are angered, but his greed blinds him. Find him, Du Bois, before the moon sets. Her staff tapped the ground, a pulse of power guiding them toward a derelict chapel, its spire leaning against the night sky. Celeste's camera hung ready, her voice fierce. The ledger names him Julian. We expose him, end this tonight. Her bruise from the abduction was a badge, her resolve unyielding despite the order's reach. They entered the chapel, its pews splintered, its altar defiled with crescent moon carvings. Devereaux stood alone at the far end, his silver mask discarded, his black suit torn, his blue eyes wild with fanatic rage. A bloodied knife gleamed in his hand, a fresh crescent medallion around his neck. The order's followers were gone, scattered or abandoned, leaving their leader to face his reckoning. You've ruined nothing, Devereaux snarled, his voice a venomous hiss. I am the killer, Du Bois, the moon's chosen. Levine, Thibodeau, Clara, your sister Amélie. I carved their lives to forge eternity. The ritual's power is mine, and one more death will seal it. His confession was a twisted hymn, his delusion laid bare. Julian's scar flared, Amélie's murder confirmed by the man who'd haunted his decade of guilt. You're no god, Devereaux, he roared, revolver raised. You're a murderer, and Amélie's blood ends you. He fired, but Devereaux dove behind the altar, the bullet splintering wood. Celeste circled, her camera flashing, capturing Devereaux's unmasked face. The world will see you, Vincent, she shouted, dodging as he lunged, his knife grazing her cloak. Zora raised her staff, chanting a prayer to Baron Samedi, the Loa of death, the air thickening with unseen power. The chapel's windows rattled, the moonlight dimming, weakening Devereaux's resolve. Julian tackled him, their bodies crashing through pews, the knife skittering across the floor. Devereaux's medallion tore free, clattering beside Amélie's pendant in Julian's pocket. For Amélie! Julian roared, pinning Devereaux, his fist slamming into the killer's jaw. Devereaux's eyes flickered, his delusion cracking, but he laughed, blood on his lips. The moon sees all, he gasped as Julian cuffed him, ropes from the chamber now binding his wrists. Zora's chant faded, the Loa's wrath sated, the ritual broken. Celeste retrieved the knife, her ledger and photos a testament to the order's end. We've got him, Celeste said, her voice steady, her amulet glowing. The killer's unmasked, Julian. For Amélie, for everyone. Julian stood, his scar a quiet ache, Devereaux's confession a weight lifted. The crescent moon's light waned, its shadow retreating as the plantation's fog parted, revealing a dawn that promised justice. Chapter 42. Madame Zora's power. The ritual chamber beneath Magnolia's End plantation thrummed with dark energy, its stone walls carved with voodoo veves and crescent moons, torchlight dancing on a black-draped altar strewn with blood-stained knives and leering masks. The full moon's light poured through a skylight, bathing Julian Du Bois, bound at the altar's center, in a ghostly glow. His scar burned, Madame Zora's talisman pulsing faintly, his wrists raw from ropes. Vincent Devereaux, masked in silver, raised a ceremonial knife, his blue eyes fanatic, his cloaked followers chanting a Creole hymn to seal the order of the crescent moon's 10th sacrifice. 9 victims lay dead, and Julian's blood was to grant them immortality, dominion over New Orleans. Amélie's journal, hidden in his coat, fueled his defiance, her murder a decade ago this ritual's genesis. Devereaux's voice was a venomous chant. Your death, Du Bois, completes the final crescent. The Loa will bow, and the order will rise eternal. The knife gleamed, poised to strike, the chant swelling to a fever pitch. A sudden crash shattered the hymn, a stone dislodged from the tunnel's mouth, followed by a voice like thunder. Madame Zora Laveau strode into the chamber, her silver hair loose, her crimson tignon aglow, her dark eyes blazing with spiritual fury. In her hands she held a gris-gris bag and a staff topped with a serpent's skull, its power palpable. You defile the Loa, Devereaux, she roared, her Creole accent a storm. This ritual is a corruption, and the spirits reject you. The order's followers faltered, their crescent moon masks glinting with fear. Devereaux's knife wavered, his voice sharp. You're a relic, Zora, meddling in powers beyond you. The moon's will is mine. But Zora raised her staff, chanting in a tongue older than the bayou, her gris-gris bag scattering herbs that sparked in the air. The torches flickered, the moonlight dimming, as an unseen force pressed against the chamber, the Loa's wrath stirred. Julian strained against his ropes, the talisman burning hot, Zora's power a lifeline. From the tunnel's shadows, Celeste Moreau emerged, her auburn hair tangled, her amulet blazing. She'd navigated the secondary entrance, her flashlight discarded, a stolen knife in hand. While Zora's chant held the order at bay, Celeste darted to Julian, slicing his ropes with desperate precision. "I told you I'd come," she whispered, her green eyes fierce, the bruise from her abduction a badge of defiance. Devereaux roared, lunging to stop her, but Zora's staff struck the altar, splintering its wood, scattering masks and medallions. The chant collapsed, the followers recoiling as the air grew heavy, the Loa's presence a tangible weight. Julian staggered free, grabbing a fallen knife, his scar a fiery resolve. "It's over, Devereaux," he growled, standing between Celeste and the order. "Your ritual's broken." Devereaux tore off his mask, his face twisted with rage. "You can't stop eternity." He swung his knife, but Julian parried, their blades clashing as Celeste shoved the ledger into her bag, her camera snapping proof. Zora's chant peaked, a gust of wind extinguishing the torches, plunging the chamber into moonlight. The followers fled, their masks abandoned, Devereaux's control unraveling. Celeste pulled Julian toward the tunnel, Zora covering their retreat, her staff a beacon in the dark. "The Loa have spoken," Zora said, her voice a warning. "Run, but the moon's shadow lingers." Devereaux's scream echoed as they escaped, the chamber's altar crumbling, the ritual disrupted but not ended. The crescent moon's light flickered, a testament to Zora's power, but Julian knew Devereaux was still out there, his final gambit unplayed.